Hi everyone, this is Vasant Raja, Assistant Professor, Computer Science Department from Perry Institute of Technology, Mannivakam, Chennai. So today we will be seeing on operating system for second year, Computer Science Department, fourth semester. Right. Today we dealing on fourth unit. The topic is on operating system design issues. So this is what we're going to see today. Operating system design issues. See, each and every operating system, it has its own specific design and it has its own solution for each and every issues it comes across, right? So that is how the concept goes on. So today we will see what type of design has been used and how it has been analyzed and how it has been accessed by itself, right? So generally we have so many designs and so many design issues in each and every concept. In this one today we will see about the operating system and its design issues exactly. Okay, so this is what you will be seeing today, right? We start now. So the operating system design issue, it has two objectives. There are two objectives because usually we will have one objective for each and every process, like we will be seeing what it is for and why we are using it. But in this one it has two objectives. You can understand why it has two objectives, because those two are the main parts for the particular operating system. See, the first one, the objective of the first one is the input output devices performs slow, right? The input and output devices perform in a very slow manner, right? So at that time it has a solution, like the system itself takes multi-programming process at the same time. Okay, IO devices perform at a very slow rate. Okay, for example, when I'm using a new device like a pen drive, the booting process of the particular device gets delays. So at that time what to do was, the operating system, it has an issue where my device working slowly. That time it has its own solution, like it will use multi-programming at that time. So when multi-program has been run at a single time, the processor idle state will become zero, so that the devices will start functioning faster. Okay, this is the main one. And in the major effect, the input and output process, it improves the efficiency of this input output process, or whether it is devices or whatever it is. Okay, so these two are the main objective of the entire operating system design issues, right? So it has its own structure, it has its own logical structure for it, and those are the important 4 points. The first one is, it is hierarchical in nature. Okay, the order of the design issue is hierarchical. Okay, for example, if a client has an issue, the client will move it to the immediate server to it, and then the server will be like it processes it to the next level of server, and then it goes to the router, and then it travels on. So a logical structure is hierarchical in nature, right? And then it has its own subset which is related to it. Okay, so each and every process will have its own subset process. Like a big process or a big project is being subdivided into small groups, so that the subgroups can solve the issues very faster, and then it will regroup everything, all the subgroups combined together as a single group, and then it will give the solution, right? Like the same, for solving this issue, it has a logical structure where it has its own related subset with it. So each and every process in this operating system, it has its own subset, and all the subset are related to each other. Okay, and then the third point, when there is a change or any error or any crash happened in one level, that will never affect the another level. Okay, this is very important thing. So when my process affects in a single level, it will not, and it should not, and it must not affect the another level. If it's so, then my entire design solution becomes zero. So the issue in one level will not affect the another level. And then the last point is, the lower level deals with very shorter time. the lower level, it deals with a very short time, because that's the last one of the entire process design. So it will happen in a very short time, and then it gives the solution very faster. That's what it deals with. Okay, so these are the two objectives, and this is a logical structure about your operating system design issue. Now we will see about the 6 levels of your design issues. Okay, these are the 6 levels of your design issues. I have given the important points and very easier method to remember all these things, so you can remember all the points very easier. Okay, now so there are 6 levels. All the 6 levels are totally related with your input and output process, because the entire operating system, it deals with your operating system's design issues. The first one is your logical issue. Okay, the logical issue, it comes under the logical resource of your entire operating system. Okay, the logical input output, it deals with the logical resource, right? It holds the basic resource, and its issues get solved by itself. That means the logical input output issue gets solved by the logical resource it has by itself. And then the device input output device issues. Okay, so this one, the input output devices, they has its own channel level, where the channel level will have its own command. For example, when you run a C program, if you have any issues in the program, you will be checking the command prompt. You will be checking with the syntax. The syntax are called the commands, and then by giving the exact command, the process runs. So for each and every device input and output, it has its own channel command which works on it. Okay, and then scheduling control, it holds the scheduling control of the entire process, where it do the interrupt and it will do the queue process, and then it will schedule. So this is what it do. The schedule and control, it interrupts in between, it will form a queue when there is so much of issues, and then it will schedule the solution time for each and everything. And then the next one is directory management. Okay, directory management, it gives you access the file format directly. Okay, you can access the files directly. And the file system holds the entire logical structures of the entire file. Okay, see, in directory management, you can access the files directly, and in file system you can access the entire logical structure of a file. That's how it defines, right? And then the physical organization. The physical organization, it holds all the rights for the entire file system. Whatever access it can have, it has totally 3 types of access. It is read, write, and execute. Okay, so this physical organization, it gives the rights for the file system, whether it need to be read or to write or to execute. That's how it goes. Okay, so this is about your operating system issues and the solutions. So this is with the design issues. Now I'm going for the next one, and the next topic is the buffering process. So how the buffering is happen? Buffering is the one in which whatever process you do, it takes the time for loading, for uploading and downloading. That's how the buffer works. And when you run the process, it takes its own time for executing the process. That's how it works. So now we will see with the input output buffering. Okay, the main technique for this is like the device manager keeps slower input output devices busy, and the process does not require input output operation. See, in input output buffering, the device manager, right? The device manager keeps all the input output devices a little bit busy when there is no input output operations required. For example, I'm going to use a process where I can handle everything with a minimal level of memory. Okay, I can handle everything with a minimum level of memory. So that time, my device manager, it keeps the input output devices busy, right? So that the process can happen very faster. That's one technique. And the second one is input buffering. Okay, in this, the device takes the part. The input device, see, it has 2 types: input buffering and output buffering. So what the input buffering do was, the input device, it reads the information into the primary memory before the process starts. Okay, the input device reads the information into the prime memory before the process starts. And output buffering, it saves the information in memory. Whatever information you save, it saves in your hard disk, right? So before that, the output buffering, it saves all information into the memory. Okay, that's what it do. and it has four types, four important types. It is a single buffer, double buffer, circular buffer, and no buffer. Okay. Now we'll see what is called single buffering. Now, single buffering. See, the operating system assigns the buffer in system portion of main memory. It takes a portion of main memory, not the entire thing. Okay, it takes the portion of your main memory. So how it works? It's very simple. It's very simple. Okay, input transfers are made. Okay, it creates what type of transfer has to happen, and the transfer are being made. Okay, after the transfer, the process moves to the block into the user space. Okay, initially the input transfer are made. Whatever process you need to do, the input transfer are being made ready, and it will be in order to perform. Once the transfer starts, the process moves the block into user space. Okay, once the transfer starts, process moves it to the user space, so that the user can use it, and he can process it, and he can access it. Okay, that time when user process can be processing one block, that time the next block is ready to get inside. Okay, and input transfers are made, it moves into the user space, user start using the process. When he is accessing the process, the next block is ready to perform, the OS is ready to swap the one which is completed. Okay, that's how it's been shown here. Input output devices, it goes to the OS, and then the OS moves the information to the user process. That's how it works. It's a single way process. Where in double buffering you have two different processes happening at the same time. See over here, in double buffer, one buffer stores data while waiting, and another one from the low level. See, this is reading from buffer A, and this is read from buffer B. The device moves information to B, B transfers to A, and A do the buffering process, and then the solution will be transferred through B. And over here, the reading happening by buffer B. So the device moves the process to A will move it to B and the next level of B do the process, and that output will be given through A. That's how this works. This is your double buffering. Sorry, this is your double buffering. Okay, this is how it works. And then the third one is circular buffering. It happens by itself, like a cyclic process. See, when more than two buffers are happening, and you will be having a collection of buffer. Okay, so that's called your collection buffer. The producer cannot pass the consumer because it will take before the consumption starts, right? So the user process is there, is here. He needs some data, so he moves over here. OS have each and every modules for itself. Okay, it has its own module by itself. So all the modules are interconnected. So whatever happens here, whatever user needs, he requests for the information. It happens over here, and it gets the information from the input output devices and gives it back to the user. Okay, that's how the circular works. And then in no buffering, there is no buffer happen because there is no process between the user or the operating system or the IO devices. So this is how it works. So I'll just give a recollection of this particular one. Okay, so input output buffering. The technique of the input output buffering is like the device manager keeps the input output devices busy when there is no operation has been performed. It has two types. One is input buffer and another one is output buffer. Input reads information before the primary starts its work, and output stores the information in memory. It has four types: single buffer, double buffer, circular buffer, and no buffer. And in single buffer, you have single process happens for the entire thing, where your input device requests the information from the operating system, and operating system it provides information to the user process. It has some types like input for there are four steps or four methods for the four steps. The first method is the input output transfer is made. The input transfer is made. Once it is made, it gets moved to the user. The user will process one block, where the next block is ready for the process. So the OS is ready to swap the process which is completed. Okay, this is single buffer. And then in double buffer, you have two processes A and B happening at the same time, where one buffer stores the data while it is waiting, and another do when the low level module, and this is how it works, and the last one is circular, and the last one is no buffering. So that's all for it. You can give your views and you can ask your questions in this feedback. Thank you.